Welcome. Good evening. Good to see everyone. Welcome to Living Paranormally with me, your host, Paranormal Pixie Laura. It's so good to see you all, though I technically can't see you because of the way I have to stream. Our magic dragon is in his special chamber, and if you have questions for me throughout the evening, put them all in capital letters, and he will put them up on the screen so that I can see them, and we'll address them as necessary. Um, First of all, I want to thank you all for your love, for your support, and for those of you that reached out to me after a trolling incident we had not too long ago. It's been handled, and we'll leave it at that. Um, your support, though, it did mean a lot to me, so I appreciate that. Been a couple of weeks, so we got a lot to catch up on. But before we get started, I want to keep our tradition because I like to make this your space to breathe, to sit back, relax, take that deep breath, and let the stress go. So, with that said, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to light our Palo Santo. And let's see, do I have what this is? This one smells so good. It's been treated with oud. Um, Such a delicious scent. And use this to send a little clearing energy out there to each and every one of you. Clear myself and my tools that are in front of me. I hope the weather has been treating each and every one of you well. Um, with many things going on, such as the changes in the astrological alignments, us going into Mercury retrograde. We had the eclipse. We had the, as, as I like to post, the alpaca lips. Um, that didn't happen. We are all still here, but the energies have just been kind of crazy. So let's just take a moment for each and every one of us and calm things down a little bit. There we go. A little bit of this for myself, a little bit of this for my tools. I hope life's treating all of you well. I really do. All right, set that down. And so I've got my intention candle for all of us, for the collective, this evening. I'm using the one from Endeavor Sense out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's an autism support business. And after the last week and being able to travel and do some amazing things, I thought, why not set our intention for joyous adventure? I think we all could use a little bit of that. I know that even as tired as I am from all the hours in airports and hotel rooms and 4 million billion zillion stairs climbed, adventure, joyous adventure has sort of rekindled my heart. So, guides, guardians, those who watch over us with love and light only, we ask for all of us, the collective, to help us find those joyous adventures, however small or large they may be. Thank you. I'm going to set our candle aside. So I got to go on an absolutely amazing adventure with the girl that is my best friend in the whole world, my soul sister. Um, and thank you, Slow Mo. I'm going to tell you all about it. It was so much fun. Oh my gosh. Having somebody to travel with who, well, yes, she and I both had the same physical limitations because she also has fibromyalgia. She has the all of the part and parcel that goes with it, chronic fatigue, widespread pain, irritable bowel syndrome, and so on, as well as arthritis and other issues that we share. Um, we both have the same childlike wonder when it comes to the supernatural and the paranormal. We both had lifetime of various experiences in different ways. And not only being able to go on this adventure, but do it with someone who is like my best friend, best companion, best balance was just amazing. Absolutely amazing. We travel amazingly together as well in that I'll be thinking, I'm starting to get achy. If we're driving, I could use pulling over for a rest stop. She's already pulling over in the next rest stop. And we watch each other for those subtle signs of fatigue or stress. Um, we, when you have conditions like this, one of the things that happens is you can get overwhelmed by fatigue. You can get overwhelmed by pain. You can get overwhelmed by crowds. You can get overwhelmed by noise. And that also goes part and parcel with being somebody who is a psychic sensitive as well, and sensitive to those energies that people put off and the situations that you're in. And so having someone who knows just by looking at you where your scale is on I'm okay to maybe needing a rest or okay, it's time to stop right now and sit down and take a break and ground and all of that. So we flew out, um, went to Minneapolis last Thursday and spent the night in Minneapolis because we both knew that after a full day of being in airports and layovers and all of that, we'd be tired and need to rest um, because it was another, 2 hours drive from Minneapolis. So we stayed in just a regular old, um, not old, but Hilton property. It was very nice, very comfortable, clean, so on. On the way out there, one of the things that I did, now let me backtrack a little bit. Where our final destination was the historic Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, um, Michigan. So we got out there, and I actually wanted to practice working with my abilities, seeing what I'd sense, what I'd pick up. And so I didn't really read up on the history or any recent activity or anything like that before I went out. But what I did do after, grounding and protecting, I opened myself up to the energies of the Palmer House. So we get into our hotel room and get all settled in, relaxed, and unwind, finally wound down enough that we could all both lay down and go to sleep. I fell asleep, and I do tend to wake up a couple of times during the night because I sleep on my side and I'll roll over and I'll adjust the pillows and then I'll get back to sleep 15 to 30 minutes later. It's just the way I am. I had woke up and I didn't open my eyes. It's normal for me. I just started reaching for the covers and I'm laying there and I turned part way, which I will do so that the spinal injuries that I have don't tweak on me as I'm turning over. And so I'm laying on my back. I've got my eyes closed and I felt as solid as one of my living cats jumping on the bed. A cat jump on the bed. It had the same gait is not the right term, but it landed the same. I felt it depress the pillow next to me. I felt the footsteps as it moved up the pillow, like it would. It reminded me in a lot of ways of what, and she's up on the shelf there, Tiger does a lot of evenings when I'm getting ready for bed. She'll come into bed and she'll jump up on my pillow and walk back and forth and pull my hair out. But where most people might have screamed at having a, for lack of better words, ghost cat, ghost animal jumping on their pillow right next to their head, my reaction was deep breath and feel the energy. Speaking of your tiger, as she goes by, and there was nothing malicious. Any of you out there that are sensitive to those kinds of energies, you know when something is good and something is bad. And I was able to feel it's like, okay, it's cat. It's not a cat's energy that I recognized, but it's a cat. And so I just said, okay. And I said it out loud because Diana is legally deaf and she didn't have her hearing aids in, so I knew she wouldn't hear me. So I'm not going to wake her up. So I said it out loud. Okay, I know you're here. It's fine, but you need to lay down because I need to get some sleep. We still have a lot of driving to do tomorrow. There was no other movement. I rolled over, and within about 10 minutes, give or take, I was back to sleep. So, got up the next morning, told Diana about it. I was like all giddy, like a schoolgirl. And also, you'll notice I renamed the show to Living Paranormally because that's what we do every day. We just don't realize it. And I want to help all of you out there start to embrace living paranormally and approach life with less fear because there's magic out there. There really is. So I tell Diana about it the next morning. I said, I've lived with cats my whole life. I've had multiple cats in my household, anywhere from 6 to 12. Well, okay, 5 right now. Cats in the house at any given time, depending on if I was fostering. I know what a cat feels like when it jumps on the pillow next to me. We get out to Sauk Center, and oh my God, if you ever get the chance to go to this hotel, do it. Don't hesitate. Don't question yourself. Just go. Not only is the building amazing and beautiful, it was built um, early 1900s, the stained glass windows, the arch above each of the main windows is still original. They had a tornado come through some years ago that damaged some of the stained glass, and they were actually able to search, and the same company that made the original glass for these stained glass windows is still in business. And so the few pieces that were broken were replaced or repaired by the same company with the same glass. So the Victorian decor, the the woodwork, the ambience, the staff there was amazing. Um, Sweet, kind, friendly, fun. They thoroughly embraced being a part of and owning a haunted hotel. Kelly, I am going to be writing her a very long letter of how wonderful our stay was. So we get there, you walk in the doors, and you walk into this beautiful um, Victorian turn of the century sitting parlor. And there's couches everywhere, there's bookcases and woodwork and photographs. And if you go to my Facebook page under Lara Sandling Bennett, I've already posted a number of pictures of um, our time at the Palmer. And so you can see some of what I'm talking about. And in the middle of this beautiful lobby is this little card table with this great big man, our very one and only Dave Schrader, right there as you walk in, greeting everybody one on one, great big hugs. Speaking of, sent great big hugs to Gemma, um, as well as I got her a little treat. And get settled in with him, checked in the event itself, and then turn around to the front desk. And I believe her name was Maria. I apologize if I got that wrong. Was sitting there behind the front desk. Again, beautiful hardwood curved desk, turn of the century. Got us all checked in. We actually stayed there in the Palmer in room 6. And again, I put blinders on my ears in case anybody was talking about, history of the Palmer, because I really wanted to feel the building. I wanted to get to know, at least for the first 24 hours, the energies and the spirits that were there with my own senses. So we get settled in, and then that afternoon, Sarah, my mentor, psychic medium Sarah Lemos, was doing a presentation as well as the welcome with Dave Schrader to everyone there. And she did a Being Psychic 101 crash course for those that had not taken her Pathways to Spirit or her mediumship classes. Was a great taste of her teaching style, which is so easy, so laid back. You grab the information and it sticks. So she gave out a worksheet, a test, um, that's basically answering questions about, you know, do you sometimes wake up in the morning and hear your name being called or hear muttered voices in the other room, and so on. So we went through that wonderful presentation. I got some great photographs of her that I've posted a few already. And then we had another break and a little talk about what we would be doing as far as investigating, because that was part of the event. We had lectures in the afternoon, investigating in the evening. And for the investigating, because the Palmer itself is 3 stories high, and then it has a basement. And where most of the activity occurs is on the top floor, the third floor. Um, there are 2 rooms. There's Lucy's room and the other gentleman's room, and I do not remember his name. The Joyce Fibromyalgia. Um, it will come to me probably at about 11 o'clock tonight. So, but these 2 particular spirits are happy to have people come in and out. They enjoy interacting with you. That because they have set things up to be done, as I like to put it, ethically. So I'm not coming into someone else's living space and yelling, "Show yourself!" You know, no. I walk in, we're taught. You walk in, you introduce yourself. Now, some people will say, don't tell them your name because you don't know what you're talking to. Fair enough, and I respect that, if that is your belief, if that is your practice. For myself, I'm walking into someone else's home. Just because they're not walking around in a flesh suit anymore doesn't mean I'm going to drop my being respectful. I introduce myself, I say why I'm here, and I literally, out loud, I'd like to get to meet you. This is a beautiful place you have here. If you are willing to have a conversation with me, please come over and join me and sit down and let's have a conversation. And we did. We had amazing conversations. Lucy was the most talkative, which I found out later is par for the course. Um, if you go and watch next Wednesday, the Paranormal 60 newscast with Dave Schrader on his YouTube channel, the Paranormal 60. He's going to be sharing EVPs that we caught during our weekend. He will probably also tell you some of his personal experiences, including that the first night, because he was sleeping in Lucy's room, that Lucy apparently got in bed and snuggled with him. Yeah, he had ghost cuddles. So we went through, and each team, if you will, we were split up into 3 groups. And they kept this event small, which was fantastic. It gave you the opportunity to interact, to ask questions, to learn without too much interference, too much, you know, bleed through. We had on the third floor, um, Dave was up there and doing EVP work. Then, and Travis, we had a guy who was there who taught how to work with the technical equipment, K2 meters, and EMF detectors, and so on. And so he was on the main floor, and then Sarah was down in the basement. And so we started, group 1 in the basement, group 2 on the main level, group 3 on the third floor. And then after 1 hour, each shifted. Whoever was on the top floor went down to the basement, and so on. Down in the basement, Sarah was working with us and using both the K2, which detects electromagnetic frequencies, and it's the one that you see that's sort of oblong, and it's got the lights across the top. And when it's believed that spirit comes in contact with it, they can make the lights go. And I'll tell you firsthand, I watched it happen time and time again. We were sitting in a basement where there was absolutely zero electricity. Everyone, we literally all checked our phones. We put them in airplane mode so that they wouldn't set it off. We even went around with K2 meters and checked them around our phones at certain points to make sure, okay, is this setting it off? No, it's not. So Sarah was using her intuitive abilities, and when she would sense a spirit come in, if she got a name, she would say the name, or one of the other people in the room who was maybe using an app or a ghost box, and they would get information, whether it be words or a name. They would read that off, and then Sarah would call out. Now, because we had Sarah there, we got an extra special bonus. She sees spirit physically. She has made her living as a medium, connecting us, the living, to our past loved ones. And it doesn't matter if it's, animal or human. They see her light. They're attracted to her. And so there were many of us that had our loved ones come through to give us messages while we were investigating. We had two ladies specifically that they were sitting on the far end of the basement, and they had the K2 meter between them, and we hear a name called out from the lady with the ghost box. And so Sarah speaks the name, and she says, you know, are you here? Would you like to come forward? And she says, oh, I see you there. And within a few seconds of her saying, oh, I see you there, the K2 meter between these two ladies goes off 3 times. Doop, doop. And, excuse me, she asks the group that was there with us, does anybody recognize this name? Do you have someone by this name in spirit? It was these two ladies. It was her son and the other one's brother. They had a full-on conversation with him to the point of him congratulating his sister and just some amazing and wonderful messages. I don't want to share too much because it was also a very personal thing. But it was beautiful. So after that was over, we all got together, and they have an absolutely wonderful little pub and restaurant there on site at the hotel that we all met up for. For those that wanted to do so, they had pizzas ordered. So right before we went into investigation, if you wanted to order a pizza, you put in your order so that when we were all done and we got in, then those pizzas were brought out, which I thought was just fabulous. Now, I wasn't able to eat them, but I had all my snacks. I was good. So we're, sitting around, we got to share stories and so on. And so then the next day, we had a talk with Dave, and then Sarah and Dave did a talk about how how much alike and how much different paranormal TV is from real life, and talking about how um, when you get into doing paranormal investigating and then get signed on for a TV show, the restrictions that are put on you about, um, you know, who you can talk to, what you can do, how often you have to be on set, uh, and so on. And then around what is real and what is staged. And getting to talk to Sarah and getting to talk to Dave. One, spending the whole weekend with them. Now, mind you, I've gotten to know Sarah as a teacher, and I've met Dave personally in 2021, and I've gotten to know him well. What you see is what you get. These two people, if no one else, are genuine, honest people. What you see is what you get. It's not staged, it's not overdone, it's not scripted. He said literally the only part that you would see is editing, because it may be that the two people are talking, Sarah and one of the other investigators, Dave, and one of Shane Pittman or whoever. And so they might have that conversation recorded and then do a shot, because it was at a distance, of you'll see his back and the camera facing her. And then you'll see the flip side of the shot facing him. And so they have to stitch it together so that it makes a cohesive conversation on camera. So getting to hear about that behind the scenes was great, as well as some of their adventures um, and mishaps and so on. And as we continue on over the next few weeks, my next podcast, I'll jot down some more things that I remembered that I'd like to share with you. But it was really, really awesome that that afternoon we got to sit down with Kelly, the owner of the Palmer House, and find out more about the history. And while we knew snippets, um, about when it was built, um, found out throughout the day, Saturday, that, okay, we know that there was one confirmed suicide. There was one confirmed um, pew pew uh, that happened in an alley not far from the building, that was a resident that stayed there. And so being able to find out that information was really cool. But then to find out more detail about, okay, what has happened with these resident spirits, the ones that actually stay there and seem to be the most active, and how did Kelly get into it? Um, she fell in love with the building. She loved the history. She loved the idea of preserving the history of Sauk Center. This being one of the only remaining buildings of a tremendous fire. Um, so I got to ask a question, and because there was talk throughout of have you seen this? Have you seen shadow figures? Have you heard knocks? Have you had this? And there was even somebody who talked about dog, and she said that turns out the only full-bodied apparition that she'd ever seen in the hotel was of a dog. And she literally, she saw it solid as you and me, and then watched it turn and walk through a wall. But I raised my hand and I said, so can you tell me, has anybody ever experienced a ghost cat here? Because of what I experienced in the hotel room in Minneapolis. And then when we were downstairs with Sarah Friday night, I kept hearing in my brain, cat, bring up the cat. There's a cat. And of course, I'm still learning. I didn't speak up. Sarah kicked me in the butt for it later. She looked, why didn't you say something? You know, it's okay. It's safe. So, come to find out that the only other non-human spirit seen is a ghost cat. And where does it go? Into room 6, which is the room that Diana and I stayed in. How cool is that? So, one of the other things that we did, because we spent Friday and a better part of Saturday going up the stairs and down the stairs and up the stairs and down the stairs. And I have bad arthritis in my knees, and so does Diana. And this was before, um, I put on a few pounds. So we decided we did we wanted to try something different and something that the other investigators weren't doing, and maybe in an area that wasn't being targeted, if you will. So we sat down in the lounge in the lobby. Beautiful brocade, comfy, two-seated couch. And she had a ghost box. So what it does is yes, it's preloaded with a dictionary. It's like the uh, SP7 Spirit Box, I believe. So the idea being that these entities can manipulate it and can pull up words out of the dictionary, and you'll see the words come up on the screen, and you can then try to have conversation. Well, on the recommendation of one of our mutual YouTube friends, Eric from Paranormal Highway, shout out to Eric. I had downloaded Spirit Talker, which is an app uh, for you can get it on Android. I don't know if it's available for Apple, but if it is, I do recommend it because what we did was I had my app on my phone open and set it on one end of the coffee table next to me. She had her spirit box on the other end of the coffee table next to her. And just as same as I'm having a conversation with all of you, even though I can't see any of you, we had a conversation. And this conversation was validated by the history that we found out later on. We were getting information about there being, one of the words we got was rumors, tunnels, barrels. And it turned out that there was a speakeasy. There's tunnels that go underground from several of the other buildings that they believe also may have been part of the Underground Railroad. Um, but that these tunnels were used by rum runners, that barrels of rum were stored in the basement in the Palmer, that previous owner was, part of this covert operation. Uh, we got other validation for experiences that she and I had, including when we were in our hotel room and we we took all of our gear without any batteries. One, we didn't want the extra weight to deal with, and we wanted fresh batteries for all of our equipment. So we were putting batteries in all of our equipment and turning things on. I made sure my phone was charged, and As we were doing so, she had the spirit talker on the bed and she put batteries in a REM pod, which it emits electromagnetic frequencies that, when interrupted, will sound an alarm. And so she was testing it, and it was going off really loudly. And me being me, I said out loud, "Sorry for the loud noise. We're just getting our equipment set up so that we can talk to you." And on the spirit talker, it said, "No problem. It's okay." Later, Saturday night, we had a similar experience where we were upstairs in Lucy's room and a REM pod started going off across the hall where they were doing ITC, and her spirit talker came up with, "What was that noise?" And of course, again, I said out loud, I said, "Oh, sorry, they're doing REM pod work across the way, so that may be what you're hearing." And, again, got that same kind of validation. Now, these are just little snippets of the amazing adventure that we had while we were there. I have to tell you right now, Dave Schrader gives amazing hugs, and so does Sarah. It was the most wonderful thing. Saturday night, after we're winding down, everybody piles into the pub, pizzas roll out, and we're all sitting around sharing our stories and our experiences, laughing. Diana and I like to play Pokemon Go. And I pulled out my phone and I looked, and it's like, I wonder, such a historic place. I wonder if there is a spot here for Pokemon. Lo and behold, there's a Pokemon gym. Oh, it's the right color for my team. Oh, someone's battling the gym. I look over, and sitting at the table next to me is Dave Schrader, and he's attacking the gym with his Pokemon, playing Pokemon Go. Madness ensued. It was a riot. It was hilarious as we have everybody who is on the red team, Pokemon Go, putting characters in the gym, attacking, fighting, battling it out with Dave Schrader ending the night out with us. I can actually pull my phone up and show you a picture that one of my Pokemon Go friends is Dave Schrader. I geeked out. I'll admit it. I absolutely geeked out. It's ridiculous, but you know what? Life is short. You never know when it's going to go just like that. So you might as well have fun. You might as well embrace living paranormally. Just go with it. You never know where the adventure might take you. I wanted to touch base very briefly on a new stone that I've acquired. And so I pulled out my crystal Bibles, 1 and 2, because I don't actually have a card for it in my crystal card deck. And that stone, and I'm going to have a little trouble reading it because the light's a little dimmer tonight, but it's aquamarine. I have a little aquamarine bracelet that I just got not too long ago. Little faceted aquamarine pieces. They're just beautiful. But I was lucky enough to get this piece from my friend Tina Michelle Briggs, who owns ATX Crystals, and she's on Facebook. If you look for ATX Crystals on Facebook. You'll find her, and she brings the most amazing gemstones and prices that you would not believe. So aquamarine is a blue-green gem. Its appearance can be clear to opaque. So as you see with this particular piece, yeah, it almost looks like a piece of glacial ice. So if you were to cut it and cut into smaller pieces, some of it might be much clearer, but sometimes it'll be opaque like this. Aquamarine is readily available. It can be found in the United States, in Mexico, Russia, Brazil, India, Ireland, Zimbabwe, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. This one is actually from Brazil. So, and you can see, I hold it in the palm of my hand, it's a pretty good sized piece. I may get in touch with a friend of mine who does lapidary work and have some pieces of it sliced so that I can make it into jewelry. But aquamarine's attributes are it's a stone of courage. It has calming energies, reducing stress, and quieting the mind. It harmonizes its surroundings and protects against pollutants. In ancient times, it was believed to counteract the forces of darkness and procure favor from the spirit of light. It was carried by sailors as a talisman against drowning. But I didn't know. And psychologically, um, aquamarine has an affinity for sensitive people. It has the power to invoke tolerance of others. It overcomes judgmentalism and gives support to anyone who is overwhelmed by responsibility, encourages taking responsibility for oneself, and creates a personality that is an upright, persistent, and dynamic person. It can break old, self-defeating programs. In healing uses, it's useful for sore throats, swollen glands, interesting, thyroid problems. It harmonizes the pituitary and thyroid and can regulate hormone growth, according to this book. So, again, with aquamarine also being a throat chakra stone, it can help you speak your truth. It can help you um, find ease in how you speak to others. And also, if you have blockages because of how you've been spoken to, it can help with that. So I just wanted to share this one with you. I hope you like that. I really want to also just quickly touch base on one of the things that I did for the weekend was I created a couple of ways that I could carry what I felt I needed as a spiritualist with me. And I think I've showed these to you before, but I want to show them to you again because there's probably some of you out there that haven't seen them. So I I procured this cute little tin. I know some of you are cringing right now because it's an Ouija board, but it's a tin, okay? It's a decoration. It's not for use other than to store things in. And And a Ouija board is just a means of communication, just like using a pendulum or oracle card or a medium for that matter. So it's all in intent and protection and how you treat it. But that's it. I like it. So what I did with it, and I've actually modified it a little bit. Oop, I'm opening it backwards because I want to open it towards the camera. Okay. Oop, and there goes my matches. So I have a little book of matches in there. Okay. And I've got inside of here, I'm going to pull things out a little bit. I cut down some small pieces of Palo Santo to include in it. I found a couple of small pieces of selenite, a little bar of selenite to keep inside my box. Then, and of course, Palo Santo for sacred clearing, for clearing of energies and objects and ourselves. Selenite, then for protection and grounding, some black tourmaline, a little tumbler, for focus and clear visioning. Nice little quartz crystal point. Then I have some sage, some sacred white sage leaves, as well as I also included a smoky quartz tumble for grounding and protection, and a shell. And the idea behind these objects is the shell represents water. The stones represent earth. I have a candle, a little votive candle that I carry with me for fire, and then, of course, the sacred smoke for air. So, in that way, when I set the intention, I can honor the sacred elements earth, air, fire, water in shamanic tradition, as I have been taught when I go out and I do this kind of work, which is working as a psychic and working as a medium. What's interesting to me is I have done a lot of this intuitively long before I was ever taught by my teachers, Sarah, Athena, Cindy. But this was a great way to have all of those things in my pocket on hand should I need it. Right down to, of course, I had a little bit of matches in there. And I even take a little bag. I've got a small one that's got some tumbles in it here. But I'll take a little bag and put some sea salt in it. So I've got salt for clearing and purification, um, as well as protecting and removing energies. So, it makes it a super easy way to carry all of those materials with you if you're traveling, um, long distance, so on. So then I also have, and I'll be ending here in just a few minutes, but this is actually, uh, some of you may have seen like at places, um, Bed Bath and whatever, um, big box stores, as a jewelry case that when you open it opens up like that, and it's got all of these wonderful little pockets. But what's really nice is that protects each of your stones that you keep in these little pockets. So if you are an energy healer, a someone who works with crystals for healing work, and so on, like myself, you can carry them with you easily, right down to in the very center here. Can't hardly see it, but I have my my crystal ball, my gazing stone. I use it when if I'm doing a reading and it's a focus object. It allows me to soften my gaze, look into it, but what I'm actually looking at is what I'm seeing in here. And so it helps me with that. So just a couple of quick little tips for ways that, you can make traveling a little bit easier. I want to invite each and every one of you to come join us here on Gemma Jade tomorrow night for Gemma's one card oracle readings. She'll be starting promptly at 7:15 Eastern Standard Time with our lovely, wonderful resident dragon, Ghost Dragon CW. And if you can get there a little bit early and say hello in the chat, he'll get your name on the list so that you can get a single card reading from Gemma. If you don't want a reading, that's fine. Come enjoy some social time. Join in the chat. As I remember things from the trip, I'll be sharing them. I'll probably share some in chat. And so I hope to see you all there. Keep an eye on your notifications for when Stephen does his next late night um, replays with Gemma. So I am so glad all of you joined me here tonight, and I thank each and every one of you and consider myself truly blessed to know all of you as gemstones and friends. And thank you, and I hope you've enjoyed this evening. Love, light, and blessings, and good night, everyone. Bye bye.